How was your first year of study prepped you for this role?
I think the XE421 assignment when we worked in the same group helped us quite a bit. It was sort of like a good way to get to know each other, and that was like a good, almost like a jump start for us with this project, because we all knew what we were all good at. Because there's some guys on the team that are good for their technical stuff. There's some guys who are more creative and more innovative. There's some guys who are good in other prospects. And I think for that reason, I was elected as team leader or project manager because of my decent organization skills as what the team still want. And because it was just a way of making sure other teams going in the right direction, making sure all the deadlines are met, and making sure we know what our next milestone is the moment we're finishing off particular tasks. And yeah, that was really useful. And had we not covered that, I think the project wouldn't have gone as smooth.
Which software did you use for design, and why did you use that one?
So the two main design softwares I used were Fusion 360 and SolidWorks, because I know how to use them.
So what is the premise of the design?
The premise of the design was supposed to be an educational DIY kit for A-level and university students. So the idea was a load of attachments for a standard 2-litre bottle, and sort of a hands-on learning experience and see how different properties of the rocket will affect the performance.
I assisted Raoul by helping make the CAD designs for the interchangeable parts.
And are there any other tests you feel that we could have done to help give us a better insight for the rocket, or do you think what we did was good enough?
I would have liked to have done more real-world tests with the different configurations to see how that would have changed the flight potentially.
James, how did you assist Raoul in the design and fabrication of the rocket?
So my job was to design and manufacture the fins for the rocket, the interchangeable fins, and I wanted to make them as aerodynamic as possible, so the rocket would go as high as possible, and also to make them big enough so they'd balance the rocket while in launch.
So how did you get to the final design? Did it take many attempts, or was your first design pretty solid?
So we started off with a prototype to be glued to a rocket, and it took multiple attempts to find out the best way to attach clips and make sure they didn't fall out, and to get mechanisms for the removable nose cones. So there were a lot of designs, I can't count.
How did you get to your final design? Did it take many attempts, or was your first design pretty good?
So there are a lot of attempts, and we decided that the best design was kind of to encapsulate the bottle in and screw it in, keep it in place.
Did you feel the wind tunnel test to be successful? If not, why?
Yeah, it was very successful. We got to see the rocket in a real world situation with the wind, and we got to see the flaps fall down, so we'd be confident that the flaps would fall down and the parachute would come out, and also that the fins would be stable enough to stay on during the flight.
I was in charge of programming the microbits, and to do that I first had to dedicate one of the microbits as a sender and the other one as a receiver. The programming the receiver was quite easy, because all I had to do was ensure that it was in the right frequency range as the sender, and all I had to do was make sure it constantly recorded the data onto a file that was automatically plotted onto a graph.
When filming for the video, what was the priority to include, such as interviews, testing, etc.?
So when interviewing, we wanted to ensure that we showcase knowledge everyone has both for the rocket and the design stages. So when filming general footage, it was important to include all stages of fabrication and show what made us work well as a team. So will tell us, how did you, Abhishek and Alex, work together to complete the marketing and video?
So to complete the video, we made a group chat, and over the Easter holidays we planned out the video, kind of arranged how we wanted the video between us. We then sent it to Nandish, who was our team leader, and he basically signed off on it. And from there we would meet kind of once a week, sometimes twice a week, and make sure we're all on schedule, delegate tasks between the three of us and ensure that we're up to speed.
So when planning the video, how did you ensure the team could be introduced, as well as showing the engineering expertise and design that went into completing the rocket?
We went through a few different designs for the video, but we found that the best way to do it was to run the interviews that we were doing alongside some, we called it filler footage, but the footage was kind of the wind tunnel testing, the things we're talking about. So the wind tunnel testing, the team meetings we did, obviously the actual launch, the fabrication by Raoul, and we found that was the best way to include that everyone got their kind of 5 minutes of fame, being able to talk about what they did for the project and showcase all of the knowledge that we've learned over the last year at university. So Abby, what software did you use to edit the video and why did you use that software?
So we had a couple of softwares in mind initially. So at the end we decided to use Adobe Premiere Pro, which is the standard software used by most of the professional content creators.
So we had an idea for the parachute to be as big as possible and also to fit inside the nose cone of the rocket. Our first design was actually too small for the rocket, so we actually ended up prototyping a second one where we researched how to fold it most optimally so it would fit into the nose cone of the rocket. Unfortunately, during our launch, the parachute didn't deploy properly and got tangled inside of the nose cone.
While designing the website, what challenges did you face?
That's a good question actually. When designing the website, the first problem I encountered was actually to do with the software. Using the blog interface was tricky at first and it made it a chore to create a customer-friendly website. This became less of a challenge as I progressed through building the website, as it eventually became like second nature. I wanted to create a website that not only followed the brief and specification, but made the customer want to choose Aqua Eruca when thinking about bottle rocketry.
We've launched the rocket now. Do you think it was a successful launch, and how do you and the team feel after 6 months worth of work has finally come to an end?
Well, the rocket flew, so that is a success. Yeah, I think the rocket performed exactly how we intended it to, like throughout the CFD tests, from the wind tunnel tests. Although our ideas were more hypothetical, we didn't really know if stuff that we saw in the wind tunnel tests or in the CFD testings would actually happen in the launch. The rocket did go exactly how it planned, which was sort of like a surprise to us. And yeah, although the rocket sort of crash landed and exploded, we can identify exactly why it happened. We were initially given the pressure limit of 10 bars, and on the day of the launch we were allowed 60 psi. Because we were given the pressure limit of 10 bars, we thought that okay, we can go to a heavier side. We can have our design to a heavier side because we're allowed more pressure. And even when we went through the slow motion footage of the rocket being launched, we realized that if the rocket was in the air for longer, the parachute would have opened up. And the only reason the parachute didn't open up as well because it got stuck to one of the clips. And in the end, I think it's just down to bad luck because that is not a variable we can control.